Get everyone's attention now.
Okay, if I can have everybody's attention, we're going to go ahead and get started. John. Great. My name is Liz Adams. I work for CRL Associates, and we work with the National Western Stock Show. Terrence is going to be here, but he is running late, so I'm going to go ahead and get the meeting started. What we're going to do is start with introductions tonight, so we'll start this way, and then I'll be Dana White again.
Paul Andrews, President and CEO of the National Western Stock Show.
Brad Buchanan, CEO of the National Western Center Authority.
Liliana Flores Amaro.
Interesting. I told you.
Representing Swansea.
Fake news.
Juan Veloz de Lidia y Swansea.
Armando Payan, Global Resident, and his nice colleague here, Mr. Mike Guerra, is going to be presenting. Come on, Mike.
Ann Hayes with Westfield Company.
Jocelyn Hiddle, CSU.
Carrie Atia, Visit Denver.
Dave Olet, Globeville Neighborhood.
And Elizabeth Globeville.
Vernon Hill, JJJ Properties, Global Civic Partners.
Jim Garcia with Clinica Tepeyac.
Tina Martinez, Denver Museum of Nature and Science.
Jeremy Rowland, Family Environmental in Rhino.
Slavica Park with Focus Points.
John Sapian, Globeville.
Albus Brooks, Denver City Council.
Hi, Brad Dodson, Mayor's Office of the National Western Center.
I'll get you last.
Yes, ma'am.
Gary Harrison, Platte Valley and Western Model Railway.
Hi, Jenna Espinosa Garcia, Mayor's Office of the National Western Center.
Terry O'Connell with Martinson Construction.
Elizabeth Erpling with Mortensen Construction.
Michael Vieta, Urban Land Conservancy.
I'm Erin Clark, also with Urban Land Conservancy.
Didn't touch it. Eric Anderson with the Mayor's Office of the National Western Center.
Julie Skeeten, I'm with CIG, I'm part of the placemaking team.
I'm Laura Rip, also with the Mayor's Office of the National Western Center.
Taryn Edwards with EAS.
Leslie Fangman with EAS. Catherine Thorne with EAS.
Melody Ambrose with the National Western Center Authority.
Bernadette Garcia, Globeville resident.
Armando's two daughters.
Lisa Zoller with Zoller Consulting on the horizontal integrated design.
Mark Schaefer with American Company, Horizontal Design Lead.
Billy Gregg, landscape architect with Studio C, CPG, working with Mark on the horizontal.
And our facilitator this evening.
I'm the facilitator. I'm Terrence Carroll, co-facilitator with Maria Garcia Berry, and one day we will be both here at the same time. I'm also treasurer of the Western Stock Show Association. And how many weeks do we have? How many days do we have? Like 30-some?
Yeah,
days?
40, I'd have to look on the website, but yeah, something like that.
But we expect to see all of you at the National Western Stock Show. If not, you're kicked off the CAC. Just saying. So we'll get going on to our next presentation. Oh my gosh, it's Erin Clark, who, I will say this, I've known Erin and her family for a long time. I remember she was just an itty bitty, you know, young person, like 2 years old.
You're not that much older than
Okay, but you just messed up my whole story, Erin. I'm gonna tell your mother and your father how you treated me tonight. So Erin Clark from the Urban Land Conservancy to do a special presentation on the 48th and Race Project update. I'm still gonna tell your parents no matter how well you do.
Okay, we're on one microphone, so extra steps.
43 days. Thank you,
Is that what our website says? Okay, they're right.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. So again, I am Erin Clark. I'm the Vice President of Master Site Development for Urban Land Conservancy. Urban Land Conservancy, just for those of you who don't know, is a 15-year-old nonprofit organization based here in Denver. Our mission is to make real estate affordable for community assets. So the way that we do that is we purchase land in underserved areas, primarily around or within proximity to transit stations. And we bank that land and also use a land trust model. So we purchase land, work with developer partners, and often enter into a 99-year ground lease so that the developer will own the improvements, we'll own the land, and we continue to engage in community engagement activities so that we can find out kind of what people want to see on those sites. And so we provide land and buildings for affordable housing, for low-income health clinics, for other office space for nonprofits, and for charter schools and other things that would generally be priced out of the standard market, so that we can provide below market rates. So that's what our mission is, and we are here today because of our project a few blocks away from here at 48th and Race. So I'll just explain a bit of it to you and who the parties are involved, and we'll answer questions if we have time. Just looking here briefly, so we're over here right now. The site is here. It's a 6-acre site at the corner of 48th and Race. And this shows just proximity to the forthcoming 48th and Bright Boulevard transit station for the North Metro line.
Just pass the pen with it.
So the project itself, this is, again, a 6-acre site that ULC purchased in 2015. What is proposed for this site is, and again, we're looking here, right now, Atlas Construction Supply is still a tenant in this building. You can see we're looking across the street at Johnson Rec Center and Elyria Park, additional city property to the west, and then coming to over here at the National Western west of that. At full build-out, we're expecting to see approximately 400 rental units, residential units. What we've required of our developer partner is that at least 51% of the total housing must be affordable to households that earn up to 80% of area median income. And I'll, on a later slide, kind of translate that into actual income so you can see who we're talking about serving. In addition, we see Jim Garcia is here. He is also a Clinic Tepeyac is also a partner in this project. So the goal is to have approximately 30,000 square feet for Clinic Tepeyac to bring all of its health services and administrative functions under one roof. So they would continue to provide medical services, but also be able to expand to dental services and include a pharmacy as well. And then we're hoping to include other neighborhood serving benefits, some other form of retail. We've done a lot of meetings throughout the community and have heard of a need for fresh food retail or some other, again, we want it to be, it's not a chain, it would be neighborhood serving retail of some sort. So we're starting to get more down the road to figuring out what that might be as well. Some other requirements we have for this project is that there would be at least 20% of the construction jobs on site would be targeted to local residents also currently earning 80% of AMI or below. There's also a requirement for the health clinic to try to meet that goal for permanent jobs as well. So just to give a quick overview of the partners who are involved here, again, I've told you some of the mission of Urban Land Conservancy itself. Clinic Tepeyac has been around for about 25 years. Its mission is to provide culturally competent health care and preventive health services for the medically underserved. Again, Jim is here, and I don't know, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, for us, it was an easy decision. We very much wanted to stay in Grove area, Swansea. We have our main clinic at 50th and Washington, Lincoln, and then our administrative building at 47th and High. As Aaron mentioned, our ultimate goal is to bring everything together under one roof and to be continue to be a service to the community. So when the opportunity arose to partner with ULC and later with Columbia Ventures, it just seemed like a real natural fit.
Thank you, Jim. And so again, so finally, Columbia Ventures, this is our developer partner. It is an affordable housing group out of Atlanta, Georgia. This is going to be their first project here in Denver, but they have been, to this point, an excellent partner with us. Have been conducting community meetings at Clinica Tepeyac space. We have meetings the third Tuesday of every month. So we've had them in September, October, and November. I'll show you at the end some details for our next community meeting, which I invite all of you to attend. It will be very important for this project, and that will be January 15th. So as I stated earlier, our affordable goal here, we're looking at 150 to 200 units of affordable housing. Again, it's going to be to an average of 80% of area median income. So it would be 80% and below. So if you're talking about, these are the numbers for Denver in 2018. A family of 4, 80% of the area median income is about $72,000. So we're looking at incomes below that. What we'd be providing are studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedroom units. So again, speaking to the importance of the next meeting that's coming up. I believe that's here, January 15th. So where we are on timing on this project right now is that Columbia Ventures is going to be seeking low-income housing tax credits to finance the affordable housing portion of this project, the phase 1 of the project. The phase 1 would be a single building that houses Clinica Tepeyac, and then above would have floors of residential that would be the 150 to 200 units of affordable housing. The application for the tax credits is due February 1st. So January 15th is going to be when we get a really strong conceptual site plan that we can review, as well as a good idea of what the income level breakdown will be for that phase 1 and what the bedroom counts will be for that phase 1. So that's why I think that would be the best time for people in this room, and please tell your neighbors around the neighborhood as well, to please attend this meeting and weigh in if you can. It will be held at lunchtime at the Johnson Rec Center across the street from the 48th and Race site. We always provide food at our meetings and Spanish translation as well. And so what's critically important is, for timing again, is that the affordable housing can't happen without the tax credits. The way that we have structured our agreements is that Columbia Ventures will apply for tax credits in 2019. If they're awarded in 2019, they can start building in 2020. If they do not receive tax credits in 2019, they'll be applying in 2020, which then means they're building in 2021. So they'll have 3 shots, 2019, 2020, and 2021, to seek the tax credits. And having community support and letters of support along with that application are incredibly important. So we certainly hope to receive. We've gotten a lot of support so far, and that's something that is going to be critical to getting this done sooner and getting the housing actually built. So, and then once, along with that phase 1, then the rest of the site would be market rate housing as well. So that is the project, and yes, Brett.
Oh, could you hand him the microphone? I'm sorry, we're going to have to do it back and forth because we're down to 1.
So if folks or organizations want to support with a letter or an email or whatever it is, can you provide Liz with an address and an email address so that it could be given to everybody so we can, because it's a very competitive process for these tax credits. And it is critically important to have, if this is a project that is supported by the community, and obviously there's a need now, not 3 years from now. So that would be helpful, I think, for folks who want to express their support.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. Yes, and my contact information is actually at the end of this PowerPoint presentation, and I believe Liz will be sharing that as well. So, yeah.
Two questions. One, you talked about the conceptual site survey, the conceptual site review plan. From my perspective, has that already been approved from the city? And now you know, what phase in the process are you in that conceptual site review plan? And the second question is, on those rental units, it's my understanding that you get 25% for each rental unit towards the building costs, which is separate from the tax plan, the tax incentives. Can you expand on that?
I don't.
You don't know about that? Maybe Mike can jump in there.
I didn't hear your question.
Well, the first one was about the conceptual site review plan. The second part of the question is that usually when you go for these projects like this magnitude of nature, the city allows you to apply for 25% of the building costs if the units are rented. It's 35% if you're trying to sell the units for affordable housing. I'm wondering if you apply for those funds in this process.
This is a totally rental project.
I know, but still, under OED, you have access to those funds. You could apply for those funds at 25%.
I'm not aware of that.
Well, I am.
Okay.
I'll find it out. I'll have Liz and her team track it down.
Yeah,
and
we'll
see
get
what
you
we
an
can
answer
figure
on that
out.
specific to this project. With regard to your first question on the conceptual site plan, none of this is going through the city process yet. This is concept plans for the tax credit application specifically. Only after tax credits are awarded would additional funds become available to do the more detailed site planning that's required to actually get city approvals and of what's actually going to be built. So right now, again, it's just talking about here's the general massing of the buildings, here's what the kind of where on the site we're thinking it will be for that phase one, here's what the bedroom counts will be, those types of things. It's not actual drawings to be approved by the city.
Do you have a certain number of the units allocated to like 30%, 50%, 80%? Do you have that? Is there some sort of matrix?
That's what we will have in January. So it's still, we have drafts of that, but the numbers are still moving, so that's not something I'm really comfortable to share right now. But January, that January meeting is when we're getting closer to the actual application, and we will have a matrix just like that.
On the types of units that you were just asking about, and there was rigorous conversation at the last open house, I should call it, about how the single units versus the double units it would affect the demographics of the neighborhood. And I think there's a lot of room for discussion, important things to understand. And always looking to see what is the relationship to the National Western Center when something is on the agenda here at the Center Advisory Committee. I'd like to ask if there is a way to elevate the relationship between the impacts of the National Western Center and this project as a leveraging for better outcomes, one for the neighborhoods and for both projects. One area could be to more closely now focus the parking and the traffic and the wayfinding studies that are kind of mixed in different studies. And I think those are relevant possibly to even the strength of applying for the tax credits. And so I'd like to suggest if you're going to come to the CAC that we prepare something that says this is where the collaboration is, to elements of the neighborhood. So I just wanted to say that. And also, and I would be interested as a CAC to sign a letter of support in that direction. Then the last thing is that this project has gone through immense evolution. For those that were at the beginning, application at the city council for the loan to get the property, it's an interesting evolution regarding the numbers of units, the density and that kind of thing, and I hope everyone will pay attention to it because there's a lot to be discussed and a lot can be understood in the phasing, and it's going to have immense impacts. And I'm saying all that as a basic supporter of this type of TOD. But I question just an hour and would encourage you to make it an hour and a half. I realize there's a conventional idea about lunch goes from 12 to 1, but based on the last meeting, even I would say maybe we should plan on a little bit, at least a half hour more than.
And I think that's fair, and actually, that could be a misprint on my part here, because most of our meetings have been scheduled for an hour and a half. And certainly, we'll be there and are happy to continue conversations as they go. So we're definitely not cutting it off, having a hard stop at that time. But also definitely part of why I'm here today, and I've anytime I can, when I see Brad, I'm like, okay, we have this project at 48th and Race. I've met with Gretchen Hollera, and we've talked about ways to make sure that there are good pedestrian connections between this project and across to the new transit stop and across here to the National Western site and back and the reverse. So definitely that is a strong interest of ours, and I appreciate you saying that, because I think it's important that as all of these things are being developed, that we understand kind of the full context of what's happening in the neighborhood, and that it's not siloed, that we're all really coordinating these efforts.
Before David, you know, we'll figure that process out, not tonight, but David will be the last question, because this was not intended to be a thorough vetting of this, and there's an hour and a half, maybe an hour, hopefully hour and a half, lunch on January 15th, which happens to be the day before my surprise birthday party, if anybody wants to come. So David will be the last question here.
So you say you guys go to all the transit stations. How many of them have you done in Denver?
So I have, in master site development, there are 2 other projects I have, one at 10th and Sheridan, one at 40th and Colorado Boulevard. I'm trying to think of the other ones that have already been done. Evans Station is not, Evans Station.
ULC?
That ULC is done.
The 38th and
38th and Blake is happening now. But yeah, I'm trying to, it's hard because there's a separate department that has the other projects, but the 3 projects that I'm in charge of are transit-oriented developments that are being built right now.
And you're building apartments all around.
You got another mic
Yes.
working, right?
Yeah.
Because he just texted me.
So our former council president and our council person.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Decided to use his prerogative.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Hey, I just wanted to say to everyone, you know, I know we have federal fair housing laws that restrict us from saying these 150 affordable housing units will be directed to GES residents, but we do have ways around that. Did I just say that out loud? Sorry. Where we could target residents who have been displaced in our own neighborhood. And I just think that this group in here should think really strategically about who, you know, residents we know who are experiencing displacement or who have experienced displacement and want to be back in the neighborhood, that we could do some targeted outreach and marketing to. A lot of the units that are coming online in District 9 right now, we've done that in communities and it's been very, very successful. So just wanted to say that. I know you guys are doing the outreach, but the leaders around the table should lead like that in the community.
And I very much appreciate that. Just my final comment with regard to that is that part of the reason that ULC was brought in to purchase this property was specifically for that reason, so that there could be more affordable housing here right in the neighborhood with access to transit to provide additional housing options for those being displaced in the neighborhood. So we definitely, our developer has agreed to enter into a community benefits agreement with GES Coalition as well, and part of that is making sure that that the units are directly marketed to those who have been displaced, those who are in the immediate area, and we're working close with them on our income targets as well, so that we can reach as many local residents as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. So we're going to move on to our partner updates, and I'll start with the man to my right, the P.T. Barnum of the National Western Stock Show. How you like that?
That's me, I like it, yeah.
We have 43 days until the stock show, according to our website. Thank you, Liliana.
Yeah, way to go, Liliana.
Yeah. Paul Andrews.
There's not much more to add, really. Well, thank you, wow. Thank you, Albus. That's very, very kind. Not really much to add that you're not seeing on this already. We've rounded out our team on the legacy buildings, so Saunders Construction has been named as the CMGC for the legacy building. We have Triba Architects as the architect and the Wells Partnership as the project manager, so we are done in our selection process. Now we just have to raise $50 million so we can actually pay for the building, so that's got to get done. And really thankful for Fall Feast that we were able to, I thought we were closer to 1,000 people, but I sent this number to Liz, so it must be right. And anyway, we're trying to grow this to 3,000 to 4,000, so as many of your friends and neighbors next year, please tell them all to come to Fall Feast. Everything's free and it's all fun. And as you know, Stock Show is now 43 days away, so we are fast preparing for that. And really looking forward to having a great year in 2019, which is our 113th year. So there you go.
I'm going to hold off on questions until all of our partners are gone. Next is the only agricultural school that matters in our state. Jocelyn Hiddle from the Colorado State University Aggies or Rams, depending on your generation and how old you are.
Man has a way with words. Terrence Carroll, everyone who's here all night. So there's a lot of information here on the outreach work that CSU continues to do in the neighborhoods. I will not go over that really. You can read through all of that at your leisure. But I will mention something that I think we mentioned last time, which is CSU is actually taking our food-oriented facility, the CSU Center, and we are combining it with the water building footprint. So we will now have our water and our food building in one, sort of in one place, with sort of the bridge over National Western Drive South connecting between those. And there are a number of reasons that we've decided to do that. One is that it makes it a lot easier for K-12 field trips to move through those different experiences. So they're not having to move to a third location, so they're not going to miss out on any piece of it. Easier for tours in general, as we're showcasing the great work that's coming out of the National Western to people who are coming from other cities and around the world to see what we're doing. And it also just gives us that flexibility to kind of have more interdisciplinary work between our teams that are focused on food and water. So that's really exciting. It meant that we took a little bit of a pause on design for the water building so that we could catch up with the food building, and then those design processes will go forward together. So we have a RFQ out right now for design for the food building, and then those two things will move forward as rapidly as possible, and we'll keep rocking and rolling. And all three of our buildings would then be constructed at the same time. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Go Aggies.
Go Aggies.
So we're going to Carrie, or does she give a report? No, sorry. So if you care about nature and science, you'll care about the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. If you care about STEM, you'll care about them. So Tina Martinez.
I think that's better than like walk-up music. You can just introduce me all the time. Let's see, there's highlights on the page. The thing I wanted to make sure everyone sees is we have two great temporary exhibits right now that will be going away right after the holidays. A good opportunity to come see it is our next free day, and we will have, it's Sunday, December 9th, we'll have a lot of different performances and activities for kids that day. It should be a lot of fun. Also wanted to recognize, I can't remember if we've done this yet, Garden Place won the design award, and it was fun to be there and see Armando and his daughters get recognition for the outdoor loading garden. Really cool.
I think it's History Colorado here. But history is still important, even though they're not here. I mean, if you don't understand your history, you're doomed to repeat it. And we don't want to repeat bad history. We're creating too much bad history right now. So,
may I?
Unless you're history.
History, yes.
Well, you are old enough.
History Colorado's not here, but they hosted, Liliana, you want to speak to that as well? At the Grow House, a culmination of history from the perspective of different residents throughout the neighborhood. And it was very well attended. Grow House deserves a lot of credit for housing and putting it together. Obviously, History Colorado, I don't know how much effort went into it, but it's tremendous effort. I don't know if you have any numbers on that, Liliana, or not, but it was a tremendous outpouring, and our former Senator Gallagher was present. He enjoyed it so much he had 2 servings. He loved the tamales, he said. But it was great. History Colorado did a wonderful job, and it brought different people together from Globeville, Elyria, and Swansea. It was a tremendous evening, well spent. Thank you.
Want to add anything, Liliana?
No, I just want to add that I think the Grow House was just the host, and the real work happened with History Colorado, and right now the photos are currently at the Grow House, and I think the video, they also made a video collecting all these oral histories that will be released at some point, and whenever that's ready, sort of public, we'll make sure to come and share it with you, and there's a possibility of perhaps bringing some of the photographs to an exhibit here. We can move it around the neighborhood and kind of share what some of those stories are.
Thank you, Arlene. Any questions for any of our partners? Okay.
Paul, I have an acronym question. Paul, what is the acronym for one of the contractors?
It's so CMGC is Construction Management General Contractor. For all of our construction people in the room, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. There you go.
Thank you, Paul.
Yes, thank you.
So we're going to go into the reports from the National Western Authority Board. We'll start with our CEO, who's now about a month and a half into the job. My favorite rancher. And if you ever need, grass-fed beef for your family, go to Brad Buchanan. So, Brad, there you go.
And I'm going to pass it on to Liliana to start.
Really?
See, I just did you a favor. So I did your introduction rather than Terrence did.
My introductions are good.
They are. You're right.
You catch on quick.
Gosh, okay. So we've been working hard as an authority board to really help Brad and Melody, be able to give them the support that they need to be fully on and running as soon as they started. We had our meeting today. I won't share too much of the construction updates because I think that'll be coming a little bit later. We did have conversation around community benefits, and Brad can tell us a little bit more about some of the things that we talked about this morning that we're excited to bring to you all at our next meeting on the 13th. And just know that we are still continuing to research. I was jumped on this webinar that Councilwoman Ortega's office shared. It was folks from across the country just coming together and sharing some of their stories around community benefits agreements, from Port Covington and Baltimore to Nashville and the current CBA that they developed with their new soccer team and soccer stadium. And so, we're still thinking about it a lot. And I think now with Brad on board as our CEO, he can share a little bit more about the potential for the process to continue.
Would you like to introduce John Sapien as well?
No, I'll let you do that.
I didn't know I needed an introduction.
You really don't.
Okay, who needs no introduction?
I mean, you're a legend, you're iconic, you're John Sapien.
Do you have some things to add, John?
I've made it a lifelong practice not to argue with success. People obviously smarter than I am, richer than I am, know what they're doing, so I defer to Brad.
Wow, this is quite a competition.
I'll have to show you my checking account. Today at the board meeting, we did a presentation to the board around sort of a number of topics related to community benefits. And that presentation, we wanted to roll it out today and have some conversation about it. We will have it for you on December 13th. And it had a kind of basically two components. The first piece was that folks around the boardroom, and I think people in the audience, we're aware of some of the current efforts that the community has been making in partnership with other partners around a number of community benefits efforts, community engagement efforts, community events, community programs, and we're going to, it's a pretty exhaustive list of sort of what some of the partners around National Western Center are engaged in, involved in right now, and accomplished in 2018 and have on their docket for 2019. And then the second half was, okay, now looking forward, what does it look like? And we're going to engage in two things. One is that the community benefits process needs, and these are words I choose to use, there might be better ones, but I would say a fiscal agent. This is an entity that will be the receiving entity of future community benefits. That really is job one right now, because it's going to take some time to stand that entity up, whatever that means. Lots of different ideas around how that will work. We're going to be scheduling some discussions around that so that in 19 we can really put that all to work and get in place. And then the second thing that's going to be happening in 2019, and I touched on this a little bit at the end of the last CAC, we're going to be starting in February after Stock Show what we're calling a strategic implementation plan process. And this is not redoing the master plan. This is taking the master plan and taking it from 100,000 feet and bringing it down to 10,000 feet and saying more about, so what does it mean to all these guiding principles that we've talked about? How are we going to actually implement them? What does that mean in terms of programs, spaces we need, funding that we're going to have to get for some of those programs that we don't have funding for now? And that process will kick off in February and will get very broad to include this group and other community and stakeholder groups in and around GES and outside of GES as well. They're partners in the city that will want to be involved. Get broad, and we'll go through a series of events that'll be more topically focused. Like one will be around campus-wide services, and that's energy and data and operations and food and beverage and all those kinds of things. Others will be around community benefits, of course, other programming efforts. What does an ag incubator, what does that mean? Where does that happen? Where could ag tech happen? Those kinds of things, to really start to take some of these just words on paper and start to look at how they will be implemented in and around this important project. And those will all be public meetings. And I know this group's been involved in a lot of planning and a lot of visioning. Hopefully this feels a little different because it's about implementation. It's about doing stuff and getting stuff ready to go. And the reason I think it's really important is that the master plan says a lot of really important things, but all of us have a little different version of what it means, how that stands up and what it means in and around the community. This will really start, I think, to build consensus around the most important things. And equally important, it will start to talk about timing. One of the things that's been my observation around the community benefits conversation is that it's difficult, at least from the National Western Center Authority and NWC, it's hard to have a community benefits conversation right now around things like revenue, because we don't know what the revenue is yet, and we honestly won't for a couple of years. So, but there's a lot of work to do between now and then. And so I've also been trying to message people, there's a lot to do, but we have time. And we have time to be thoughtful about it. We have time to really have robust conversation about this. And so that we get the outcomes that we all want. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And you've already been in a marathon, and there's another one to go. So that'll be around that process. But the community benefits conversation will have a great opportunity to really deepen and broaden the conversation around community benefits in and around the strategic implementation plan. Happy to answer any questions on that. Just in terms of process, so you know, we are in the process right now of interviewing a number of different facilitation groups that would help us manage that process, that have done this kind of process before.
Yeah, just a real quick question for John, since he's appointed by the mayor and he represents our community, appointed by the mayor, not us. John, could you expand on the authority board and any new members and any new skill sets that they bring to the table and how that impacts what Brad's talking about in terms of the new footprint and the new design that he's put forth for the spring? Could you comment on that, please?
I don't think so now because we're not there yet.
Well, my question is, are there any new board members? Executive board members, board members?
No. No, the board is...
Are there any vacancies?
No, they're set.
Not at this time.
They're set, and it's set by the agreement.
They're set by the mayor, I understand that.
No, it's set by the agreement made with the partners,
But they're appointed by the mayor.
appointed by the mayor, some of them. It's a 7 total now. But, and that's set, as far as I know. Brad, do you have any?
There's specific terms, like when the terms are staggered, so the terms are staggered, so I'd have to look back at the dates, but I think the first sort of round of folks that end their service, I think, is sometime next year, 2019.
Yeah, there's a set of people
Yeah.
who are appointed by the mayor. And then there's another set of folks who are there by virtue of their relationship. They're either members of, they're members of the partners, so it's CSU, National, Western Stock Show Association, and am I missing someone? That's it. So if there are no vacancies at this point. If there are any in the future, they will be on the mayor's side because the ones on the side of the partners are all related to their role. Specifically, they're ex officio with voting rights. Any other questions? AE, I almost called you Ann Elizabeth, but AE.
In this texting age, it's probably better to avoid him. This is kind of a joint question, I think, for Jocelyn at CSU and Brad. There's two timelines that I'm experiencing here. One is sort of what you're describing, Brad, about the strategic group. The other is the certain things that are going to become less malleable, which is the architecture of the buildings that CSU is well along in manifesting, let's say. I have some excitement and a lot of concerns because of a certain malleability that we lose in the public realm to some of the more expansive and creative things, some of which were represented in the what Mickey said. So what I'd like to do is see if there's a way there can be more of an intersection with what is happening with CSUs. I haven't got a sense of design, so can we figure out how to incorporate those conversations, because there may be things that can still be affected in the design of these buildings that could be more responsive to a more dynamic use of the public realms and the flexibility of the entire site. So can we put that in some kind of connecting dots between the two timelines?
Go ahead.
Thanks, AE. That's a really great observation. So I think one of the things that we have been trying to do as much as we can with the CSU facilities is to create a kind of a menu of different space types and to try to think through what are all of the potential ways we may want to use these three facilities given these kind of general thematic areas of water, health, animal health, and food. But with the direction we are giving our design teams is to make them as flexible as possible. Because even if we had completely tight alignment with what Brad is describing, 5 years from now, we don't know how the worlds of all of those three different themes will have changed. So you have absolutely hit on something that keeps me up at night, is making sure that we don't lock ourselves into something in one of these buildings that's so specific that we can't shift with how industry is changing or how the desires of the people that we're serving are changing. So it's definitely on our minds. I also think we have a little bit of time for, I think our design teams can still do some of that additional flexing with the outcomes of Brad's process as we move forward into 2019, particularly with some of the finer scale design pieces won't be getting locked in until after at least the initiation. And so we'll be listening closely, absolutely, to the outcomes of what Brad is describing.
We have time for one more question. Is there one? Seeing none, we'll move along. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, let's move along.
What's that?
Let's move along.
Oh, thank you. I thought you were doing that city council thing again. You politicians. Next update from Brad Dotson, wherever he went. Oh, there he is, up there. The Deputy Executive Director of the National Western. You know, as a corporate lawyer, when I hear NWCO, I think new company that we haven't named yet. So it always messes me up. So Brad, National Western Center, Mayor's Office of the National Western Center, which is what I prefer. And your director's report.
Thank you, Terrence. Thanks for letting me be here this evening to present for Gretchen. Gretchen is taking her first vacation of the year, a well-deserved vacation with her husband. But she sends her regards. I'm going to start first with this sheet. This is our program status report. I believe that went around. If not, there's extra copies up on the counter. This is a one-page snapshot of where we are on phases 1 and 2 construction. I'll give you the Cliff Notes version, which is we are on schedule, we are on budget, we are making progress. In the upper right corner, you'll see our key performance indicators around health and safety and cost and schedule, and Renew, which is our environmental key performance indicators, and we are tracking well with each of those. I'm going to click quickly through a few of these slides that you guys have seen before. We have two special presentations this evening, one from EAS, which is the new energy partner for the campus. I want to give them time, as well as Eric Anderson will be coming up and talking about placemaking. But I want to touch briefly on Brighton Boulevard. So good news, Brighton from 47th to 48th is open. It's one lane in each direction. Thank you, Councilman. And the rest of Brighton Boulevard will be fully operational in time for the stock show, which is 43 days away. So,
Do we have a date on that?
Do we have a date on that?
40
days away.
So you want us to do the May? Not quite yet, but it's definitely during first quarter of 2018.
Like the first week, we hope.
It is moving along well. It's ahead of schedule, so we're excited about that.
On behalf of
You guys have seen this slide before, our construction update. We have a lot of work underway. We've done a lot of work, as you guys know, over the last couple of years to get ready for horizontal construction, and we're excited about the stock show 43 days away, not only for the stock show, but after the stock show is over, we really get busy with horizontal construction, and we're really excited about that. The stockyards and stockyard event center, early construction there. We're in active procurement for CMGC on the stockyard event center, and then we're also in active procurement for design for the equestrian center. The CMGC will go out later this year on that, and then in 2019 we'll do the design CMGC for the livestock center. After these two buildings, we are done with procurement for phases 1 and 2. These are the last two. These are our largest two buildings, but we have done so much work to get up to this point. We're now kind of shifting from procurement mode into really full-on delivery mode, and so you'll start to see the fruition of all that work going forward in 2019. We're continuing to work on the triangle future phases. We'll have more of an update on that at the next CAC meeting, but we continue to do work to get ready for that. And then the 1909 historic building. So many of you have been involved in this process, and we're really excited about that wrapping up here at the end of this year and early 2019. The final meeting is set for January. I think Jen will be right after the stock show is what we're expecting for that final meeting on the 1909 building. And there will be a report that will come out. Certainly we will bring that to this group and talk more about that, but really excited about all the work that's happened on that building and the potential that remains for the future. We're going to talk about energy tonight. I want to invite a few people up here to join me, and we'll have a follow-up presentation from them. First of all is Laura Ripp. Laura didn't know she was going to get called up for this. But I also want to bring up Catherine Thorne and Leslie Fangman from EAS. So let me introduce Laura. Laura is our project manager with the Jacobs team, and she is helping to implement campus energy and to really advance from all the investigative work and studies that we've done on energy to really to make this happen. And then Catherine and Leslie are with EAS. EAS is a consortium of NWAVE, AECOM, and Saunders. They were selected as the preferred proposer through a competitive process on campus energy. I stayed too long on that slide and it clicked off on me. There we go. And they will be talking, I think we have a subsequent presentation, talking more about their interest in the National Western Center, why they're excited about this project. And as we are entering into a pre-development phase, I have a slide on this. They'll talk a little bit more kind of what that means. So we've done a lot of work on a campus energy concept. Right now, are in the pre-development phase. We'll be validating and refining that. We're also doing a lot of work with the utilities, including Excel, with Denver Water, with Metro Wastewater. One of Laura's key jobs is really aligning that with the program, that the horizontal team, if they start doing work in 2019, this has to fit in with it. And so Laura is, I liken it to we have a moving train that's going forward, and Laura is like hanging out the train and pulling EAS onto the train with us to make sure that as we're moving forward, that their work feeds into that greater horizontal work. And then the last thing is we'll be working on a long-term agreement. It's something that we'll be working closely with Brad and with the authority on what that looks like and how, what is the long-term relationship between the authority with O&M responsibilities for the campus and with a campus energy partner. I mentioned Metro, and I want to share some good news on that. We talked about this before here about an IGA with Metro that does three things. The first thing is it relocates, buries the Delgany. The second thing, it addresses odors that are coming from the Delgany. And the third thing is it provides access to the heat so that the EAS team can design an energy system using it. And we are wrapping up that agreement. We expect it's going to go to the Metro Wastewater Board in mid-December. We expect to come to council shortly thereafter. But we've done a lot of work with Metro. They've been a great partner to us. And really they're excited as we are about having them as a partner here on the campus to really open up and provide access to that river and to remove the Delgany that's prohibiting that access today. So we're really excited about that. We will share more with that next month. And then the last thing before I hand Mr. Buchanan.
I got to interrupt you. Can I see that mic for a second? This is the second time today I've heard somebody from NUCO do this presentation on the Delgany Interceptor, and it's a sewer line. It's going to get lowered, whatever. This is enormous, and beside that, they got, I think I can say this out loud, got somebody else to mostly pay for it, and it just is awesome work. I mean, this because it's just lines on paper right now, but the difference between what will be because of this and what would have been was, for me, in my past life, one of my biggest concerns about this project, because it would have been this, you've seen it, that those big pipes would have completely interrupted the ability to actually intuitively, naturally engage with the river. And for the neighborhood, for this project, as an example of what can be done, it's enormous. So thank you, and it should not be skipped over, and they're very humble about it, but I think it's incredible. So thank you.
Amen to that.
Thank you, Brad.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
The last thing I'll mention before I hand it over to the EAS team is that we are doing an industry forum on December 12th, and that is one that we're doing together with the Elevate Denver. That's the bond team is doing all the bond projects that were approved at that last ballot measure. We will be discussing upcoming procurements at National Western Center as well as with the bond team, but a lot of the focus will be on connecting trade partners together. And so there will be an opportunity for subs and primes to get connected, and we'll be talking more about the upcoming procurements. But that is December 12th at the Coliseum. At what time, Jenna?
7:30 a.m.
7:30 a.m. bright and early. So come and join us there at the industry forum. So I'm going to hand it over now to the EAS team. And as I mentioned before, EAS was selected through a competitive process, and we are so fortunate to have them here with us. EAS brings really such a deep team with national, international experience. What we're proposing to do here at the National Western Center, like actually capturing heat from the Delgamey and use that as thermal energy for the campus, and to really take advantage of the 300 days of sunshine to provide solar power, is something that is really unique and really is transformational for this campus. But this is something that these guys have done before, and so we're really excited to have their expertise on this campus, and for them to bring their enthusiasm about what's happening at the National Western Center and their desire to be part of that. So I'm going to hand it over here to Catherine. Catherine, you're up first.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Brad. I'll first off say that we're equally excited to be involved in this fantastic project. So just to introduce myself a little further, as Brad said, I'm Catherine, and with EAS, and my specialty is community energy planning, which means that I'm leading our team to develop the best solution for the campus energy systems. And I'm just so excited to be working on such an ambitious project with such amazing partners. So I'm just going to hand it over to Leslie to give a quick intro on herself as well.
And I'm Leslie Fangman, and I am with Saunders Construction, the S in EAS, and we are their local partner, and also very excited to be working on this project at the National Western Center and be able to introduce you guys to our team and thoughts on initially what we're going to do through this PDA phase. So I know that Liz is getting our program up. While she does that, we're going to just really quickly, Catherine's going to run you through our team structure so you can understand all the players that are involved with that. Run you through basically some of the technology and what we're trying to vet with Laura and her team. And then lastly, I'm going to be touching on the community piece and how we want to work with you guys and envisioning working on this going forward.
Great. And I'll just say a little more about what excites me in particular about this project. I work on leading energy systems around North America, and I get to work on some pretty cool systems. But for this project, just the amount of good it can do for the community, and how I can just see that when I do retire one day, I'll look back on this and it'll still stand out as a project that really led the way now and also continues to be built to evolve over time and continue to lead. So that's what gets me, in particular, so excited about this and why it's so special to me. All right, so Leslie already went over the agenda, so we can actually just go ahead and go past that one, and I'll describe a little bit about who EAS is. It stands for NWave and AECOM and Saunders, and this team was brought together to include specialty expertise in each of the different areas where this project is unique. In particular, at the equity level, we have both NWave and Saunders, and NWave is the largest core competency district energy company in North America. So we bring an expertise in building these systems and operating these systems. We do it every day. That's what we focus on.
We partnered with Saunders, and we're excited to have them in the equity box with us because they are not only one of the best constructors out there, but they're also very locally focused and an absolute leader in community engagement. Finally, AECOM brings specialty expertise in the particular type of heat recovery system that we're designing. This is not a common system, it's very leading, and there are only a few firms in the world that can say that they've actually worked on the design of these systems. AECOM is one of those firms. And I'm pleased to say that at every level of the project team, from equity to the design build, we have partnership from local contractor in Saunders and local designers in AECOM, which is really important to us. And as I mentioned, Enwave specializes in district energy. This is all we do. We think about it when we get up, and we think about it when we go to bed. How can we operate these systems best? That's because we operate across North America. We operate in about 11 cities, and we have systems spanning the gambit of different technologies. We bring all that expertise to bear in delivering this campus energy solution for you. And in this project, what's really special about being able to build something from the ground up is we can look at this whole project holistically. And that allows us to unlock value that we wouldn't otherwise be able to do in other types of projects. So we're approaching this from a technical, financial, and environmental triple bottom line approach to develop the best solution in partnership with all stakeholders. And I mentioned before, one of the things that really excites me about this project is the team that we're working with. We've already seen in the first interactions that we've had with the city, with Metro, with Excel, with Denver Water, that we're working with the right team here. Everybody is aligned toward the ambition for this project, for what it can be for the community, for how it can advance sustainability within Denver and show leadership to the rest of the world. And that convinces me that we're going to achieve our goals for this project. Brad touched on earlier that this is a unique system that uses actually heat from the Dalgany. And how that works is, for example, when you take a shower, the hot water goes down the drain, and typically that heat, it just gets wasted. What we're doing is we're actually recovering that heat, pulling it out with our system, and we're delivering that to the campus. This is a really exciting solution because it's using technologies that are leading edge, and we're really showing the way for the future. In addition to this heat recovery system, we're also incorporating other technologies. I mentioned that my specialty is community energy planning, and I'm working with the team to assess all of the different technologies and best solutions that we can integrate into this project. That includes solar PV to take advantage of that beautiful weather and sunshine we have out there. In addition, we're looking at things like battery storage to help with resiliency, and we'll continue to evaluate these to ensure that it's the best solution that we move forward with into construction. And once the system is constructed, then Enwave will be here to rely on as your operator. As I mentioned, this is our core competency. This is what we do every day. And we do it for the Astros at the Houston Minute Maid Ballpark. And that actually was the venue for the 2017 World Series. So we understand what it is to run an event center that has to continually perform well and has different requirements when those big events come in. And for those events, we actually specially staff up. So we're well versed in how to do that for a venue like the National Western Center. And our approach uses what we call the Enwave operating model that leverages all of the different expertise from across those different cities that we operate in and those different types of systems to ensure that the systems not only perform well when they're first constructed, but unlike many systems out there that are complicated, you actually have the systems improve over time. They don't get worse. So we also operate these systems within the communities that we integrate into, and that's a really important piece for us. I just want to highlight a quick story about how Actually, in Houston, Hurricane Harvey hit, and it was devastating. And as an organization that integrates into the community, we reached out to the community and we helped out financially, and we also sent our operators out into the buildings to help get them back up and operating so that community members were supported in that time. And that's really important to us, and all of that fits into our whole approach to operations, because we're not here just today, we're here for the next 40, 50 years.
Thanks, Catherine. So this is really exciting stuff, you guys. This technology is not done everywhere. And I'm really excited to be a part of a city and a part of a project that really takes this to heart. But as important as all that technology is, what's as important? Community. And this team understands and knows that. And what I have behind me is just the start. I understand this is not a detailed plan, this is our outline. These are our 4 basic pillars on how we intend to develop our community plan, because we understand how important that really is. And our teams get underway on getting that plan together so that the next time we come back, we can start to talk specifics. But the first thing we know that's very important is to engage and inform the community. The more informed the community is about the technology that we're using, what we're building, what it looks like, the better that is for everybody, because we can get feedback from the community, but you guys can also be stewards for what's going on, because it's really exciting and special to be able to pull this thermal system off of a sanitary sewer line. The next one is really establishing a community partnerships. Part of that's by participating in events like this, but part of it is also we really want to engage in the community schools, come out with educational programs to explain this technology, get kids excited about STEM programs and technology and this new energy and a new way to really be sustainable. And that's really exciting for us. So we want to foster that. We want to work, we've already been in talks with CSU to see how there can be synergies there, obviously the city and the authority, but we really want to make sure that we're able to work with the partners and engage the community. The third thing is social services. We're committed financially and with volunteer hours to make sure that we're engaged in the community, especially with groups that environmental impacts, sustainability impacts, homelessness, food in these local communities and resources. And we want to be there, and we want to be here to support the community. And what's really been exciting about this process, again, as the S in EAS, Saunders is local, we're a local firm, and we always like to invest in our community, but how well InWave aligns with that. They want to be here for a long-term contract and really integrate in. And that's super exciting because not every partner is that way that you work with. And the last is workforce development. This is personally near and dear to my heart. We have a lot of folks that are working on this. It's difficult, especially in construction. We know we have a worker shortage. We work with the city and county of Denver with their workforce development plans, but we've also done our own workforce development plans, trying to get people not only into construction and engage them, but once they're into construction, how do we help them evolve? And what really is that development in workforce development? Because that's really important to keep sustainable jobs and keep people and help elevate them. And so we're very committed to that. And I know that's very high level, and I know that's not a lot of specifics, and I look forward to the next time I come back to speak to you guys that we've got some specifics on exactly outlining these programs. But I'd like to leave a couple minutes if you have any questions for Catherine, myself, or Brad on this.
John Sapien. We have our own Oprah,
Okay.
so we're good.
I was making high signs to one of our neighborhood folks in the back there, Bernie. So I see you. I am overwhelmed at this point, really. I've waited so long, so many years, you get old doing this. But I look forward to working, especially with the community involvement. I think that we're going to really jump into this, and I can see some correlation with the community benefits effort that we're roughing out. For right now, I think we stand pat, get through the holiday season, support Paul and stock show effort, but come January, February, we're going to get this thing running. And I personally feel an obligation to get as much community input from individuals throughout Globeville area and Swansea with the help of Liliana and Dave, AE, for everyone else, Armando, he left, but there's a lot to be done. Folks can be involved. This is the most exciting thing to come our way in a lifetime, and we look forward to working with you as much as we can on it.
Well, Catherine and I are ready to get to work right after the first of the year with you.
Thank you.
Vern?
I'm really excited about, what you're trying to put together here, of it being state of the art and everything else and that whole portion of it. But I do have to voice a little bit of a concern, okay? With this state of the art system, and it's not being done everywhere, so I still feel that to a degree some of this is still in its learning stages. And having said that, the concerns that come up with the Delgany Interceptor that runs down on the east portion of the river, okay, also does a crossover to the west side of the river. And there's no speaking to that right at this point in time, and maybe this is a little too early in it. But I do have a concern because some of us have properties that are located on the river there. And we are affected. For every change that's made, there's a reaction somewhere else in the system, and we've had to suffer through this before. So with your new state-of-the-art system that you're putting in for the National Western, which is, I think, a great thing, okay, I guess my concern comes up is how it's going to affect the existing industry and residents and community, as we're talking about community here. A few of the questions that I have is, we've had a situation here where a lot of things are designed and set in force, and we are made aware of it after all the decisions have been made. And I don't think we have had a lot of chance to have input and to have some say-so in reference to what takes place there. So as we begin this journey together, I think this needs to be put in part of it. The other thing, how this new system, state-of-the-art system, is going to tie into the existing dated system that's there. Now, some of us understand that and some of us don't, but the system that's been in there has been there forever. And how is this new system on the east side of the river going to affect the system that presently exists on the west side of the river? Okay, the next thing is, and the last thing is, we talk about how it's going to benefit the community. And specifically, which way is it going to benefit existing industry and costs and things of that nature within the community putting the system in?
I'm going to take those are all great questions. I'm going to take the first part of it, and we'll hand it over for a more technical answer. But I want to talk about Metro and their line, their Delgany line that exists today. You were right. It is an old system, an old line. Has been there for a long time. I don't even know how long the Delgany existed there today. But a lot of some of the motivation, and Metro was here. I think that was 3 or 4 months ago. But a lot of their motivation for entering into this agreement with the city on relocating, burying the Delgany, was about how they want the National Western Center to take heat from those pipes, because what happens is those, as the water is flowing through those pipes at a certain temperature, it goes up to Metro's plant, and then once they treat that water is then released back into the Platte. And in the winter, the water that is coming through those pipes is much warmer than the water that exists in the river. And so by capturing heat from that, it actually helps the environment. It helps Metro by reducing that temperature. And so it is something that is a net positive environmentally. And this is a way that we can extend the benefits of what's happening at National Western Center beyond the campus boundaries, because we are capturing that, taking heat that would otherwise be released back and to water that is too cold. And so it creates a better habitat for for fish and wildlife that live in and around the South Platte. I'm going to hand it over for a more technical answer. But did that answer the first part of your question?
I understand.
Part of it?
I understand the way the system works, and I got that, and I think that's great. Okay, for every action, there's a reaction. If you seal that system, then there's going to be an effect somewhere else. Right now, that system isn't a sealed system. I understand that system into the UP. So my point is, when you pressurize the system and you change the way it's being used, okay, how negatively is that going to impact residents?
Before you answer that question, could I ask, I mean, it's a tag along to that, are you far enough along to actually answer that question?
That's actually part of the answer. So we're actually in the or not even yet in the pre-development phase, which will define the design. But we're absolutely making sure that we take into considerations on the impacts on the sewer in the design. So that's how we'll make sure that we mitigate any concerns like that is through that design process. And then also it's just a clarification on how that system works. It just pulls the heat out. It doesn't change any other parameters about the actual sewage, because the rest of the system, it goes through heat exchangers. The rest of the system is all water-based to transfer the heat through the community.
Any other questions, AE? And then who? Okay.
I have two questions, and I'll just put them both out, and maybe they're related. And I'll admit a bias with a utility. I have some skittishness about three components with different specialties. I have a bias. I like an intact accountability. So my first question is what the relationship between your team around compliance and performance relative to the efficiency of reporting and looping back with the authority and the partners within the constellation of this. Because that's a little bit confusing with me, and don't want to make a false comparison, but there's things that happen like we're sort of seeing with RTD around, partners fighting with partners. So to be blunt, I want to understand on the CAC and to be able to follow, as a constituent that help people vote for this, where is the point of the spear, so to speak? How do we know that you folks, as a cluster of specialties that were formed as a new entity, truthfully, even with all your specialties, have the relationship with one another such that we can move forward? And it's related to my second question, which is, if memory serves, in the second or third authority board meeting, Gretchen Hollera presented what to me was a very exciting update about being ahead of the timeline, the budget and everything. However, there was also a need to keep on pace in a certain way so that the vertical and the horizontal would not have to compromise in a way that we would lose our net zero mission. And so those two things, to me, I want that net zero aspiration on this, and I like this term net positive too. We know that we're talking. So how do we know that we have, what is your relation? Can you give us something clear that's sort of mechanistic about the compliance and performance and how we can trust you to get us to that net zero?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with the first question on the relationships. The structure has a single point of accountability at the equity level, and so that's through us. At the level that contracts with the authority, which is NWAVE and Saunders, majority NWAVE, there's one single point of accountability there, contractually. So that's how all of the requirements flow down to the rest of the parties. And then in terms of meeting the objectives of the project, there are key performance indicators that we're actually still defining right now. We know sort of the general targets that we're aiming toward in terms of goals, but the specifics of those key performance indicators and the measurement mechanisms are going to be defined in our actual agreement for the long-term operation of the facility. And then NWAVE will be the operator for that long-term and will be held to those KPIs.
So I'll just add on if I can. Kind of a neat thing about this procurement method is having this pre-development and development phase. And the reason why I say that is, having gone through this before, it gives us, right, EAS, much more time to spend with you folks, which is great, because we can continually, as we're developing the agreement and the KPIs that Catherine is talking about, we can come back and as those are developed, let you guys know, so that you know that those key indicators are what we're going to be held to, whether that's net positive, net zero, and what that specifically means. Because right now, we don't know enough. We know what the goal of net zero is, and we're working with all the different designers and contractors in the city to try to figure out, we still don't, even know simple things like what are the final building loads for the buildings because they're being developed. But to keep on pace, as you so well pointed out, right, it's the right time to have us on board because we can keep pace with the horizontal and with the vertical, so it's all being developed together. And I said this in our interview, and I really meant it. This team understands that we are one piece of the puzzle. It's not about us. It's one piece in the puzzle that is this great thing that's the National Western Center. So we don't have all the answers, but we do look forward to continuing to come back and being able to update you guys on what those are. And all of that will then be in the long-term development agreement. And so, if there's something that's missed when we come back and we present and we're like, these are the key indicators, well, what about X, Y, Z? And those are also tied into regulations and other federal laws and requirements that we will have to meet as any energy partner. Did that answer?
Can I add something really quickly that I think is really an important deal point that, I don't know, I hope it's okay I say this, I'm going to say it anyway. What exists with EAS right now, you don't have a final contract yet. You have an exclusive right to negotiate right now. So before that deal that you're talking about gets done, because it's not done, they have to prove it up and cut the deal with the city and the authority to get done. So, and they're working at risk to accomplish that. So obviously, they fought hard, spent significant dollars, time and energy and pursuit costs to win this right to have that exclusive negotiation spot. But they still have to prove up their performance. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely, very well done, Brad.
Yeah. So this is not a trust me. We got this. We'll get it done. This is we want the opportunity to prove to you that we can get it done, and they've got a lot of work to do to do that.
Regarding, did it answer my question? Can I just quickly say, I would say, what I think is pulled out from this exchange is that there's an information link that can come through the discussion of the key performance indicators that can help us become literate in the process to participate in this, so that the whole big team, everybody that's concerned about it, can make that assessment. Do we have something that's holistic relative to what this entire project aspires to be, including relationships with neighborhoods? But that would be, I'd ask that come in real frequent increments and in real transparent documents in ways that help us understand how to engage with that. And I know a lot of it's technical, but a lot of it's relational.
Absolutely.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay. Number one, you said when you're gonna retire. This would be dinosaur by then, right? Because you're a baby. You're very young. But what I'm wondering, and I'm sure it's probably a dumb question, but you're gonna transfer heat off of that Delgado line. Is this heat gonna smell? I mean, is it gonna?
No, it's completely
The odors,
separated.
I mean.
Yeah, the heat that actually gets transferred around the community is through water. So it's completely separated by the heat exchangers. And then where we extract the heat, we have an odor control system to make sure it doesn't smell.
Okay, okay, thanks.
I asked the same question, Dave.
Okay, are there other questions? Oh, John?
I may be over-optimistic, but I'm wholeheartedly, as I stated before, enthused about this effort. And by the year 28, 29, thereabouts, when this is done and working effectively, I don't see any reason why it can't be duplicated on the east bank of the river, the site of the old sewage plant. There's lines there that carries the sewage line, and maybe not in the magnitude of the Dalgany line, but as part of the community effort, there's a I'm optimistic about this, that we can do the same thing on the east bank of the river, maybe not as to size the magnitude that we're going to be doing in the Dalgany, but it can be done. Once it's proven in the future, I'd like to see that happen, and that would certainly put a lot of questions to bed then.
I think Metro Wastewater shares that optimism with you.
Liliana?
I just wanted to take the opportunity to share some of Mickey's thoughts. He sent an email out, and I'm not sure if everyone is on it, but I'll just read an excerpt of it as it relates to this environmental piece. So again, this is from Mickey Zeppelin. So he says, as an advisory group, we must make clear our missions and values. The situation in the world requires that an organization such as National Western be an instrument of change. The environmental crisis that has taken on a new urgency, and we have the resources and facilities to make a difference in the world. With the history of the Elyria, Swansea, Globeville area, Old West, he put in parentheses, as a place of exploitation of our air, water, land, food, and people, we must change the paradigm. We need to assert that one of the principal purposes of our mission is asserting leadership in ways to save the planet, not only the National Western Stock Show. I am aware of efforts by National Western to make its site environmentally self-sustainable. However, we must go beyond that and assist the city, state, nation, and the world with the creativity and means to reduce the environmental danger to the planet. And there's more to his email, but I just wanted to highlight his words specific to our conversation around environmental sustainability and how it's all really connected back to, right, it's, you mentioned triple bottom line earlier, and I'm not sure that everyone is familiar, but sort of really highlighting how important people and planet and all of that is so important. So I just wanted to share Mickey's words since he's not here tonight.
That's great, thank you. I think we talk about the global mission and the local mission of this campus, and this really intersects with both of those.
Great, do we have any more questions for the EAS group? No? Okay, thanks you guys.
Right. Thank you.
Eric
Anderson.
You bet. And then we've got to do a distribution at some point, so we'll
Yes, we
figure
do.
out how to do that.
So I promise to be very short, if you allow me to tonight. So just have a couple of things. First thing I'm going to talk about is design standards and guidelines. I have brought some hard copies of the first public draft. We've got it this morning, so you guys are going to get it today. And then what we'll do is talk about it at the next meeting on the 13th, any comments that you have through that document. So it gives you a couple of weeks to take a look through it, and then we'll have a good portion of the next meeting focused on getting any comments that we have on the design standards and guidelines. So that's all I have to say about that right now. But at our last meeting, our last work session, the MIG team kind of took us through how they're organized, kind of the main pieces that are in there. But tonight you'll get the first draft of the document. The other thing I want to say is that...
Can I throw something in about that?
You may.
Yeah. So the document is now posted on the NWC-CAC website. I will send an email tonight, or probably tomorrow morning actually, with a link to that document. A few of you emailed back to me and said you would like a hard copy, and I will make sure that you get those hard copies tonight. I'll distribute them right now. I have a list. We might have a few extra, so at the end, if some other people decided they wanted the hard copy instead of the digital version, that's fine. So just know that I will send the email with the link to the site, and it will, you can open the document from there. Okay?
And just one other thing on the process for this. This is not the last time you will see this document. So this first draft is to get general public comments on the design standards and guidelines. And the MIG team will compile all these comments, update the document, and then the document goes to the City of Denver. The City of Denver Community Planning and Development will then put it through the city's process. It'll have to go through planning board, but that will be in June, May or June. So this will be posted again as a public document for review in that time frame. So you will be able to see this again also. So this is not your only shot at it, all right? Any questions on design standards guidelines? Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is the Strategic Design Leadership Committee, or SADL. I'll have to say that the name is from Brad. He was very instrumental in setting the name.
I just want to point it out, I keep forgetting to mention this. There used to be an "and" there, strategic and design leadership. That's where the A came out.
I see, okay, anyway.
Yeah.
There you go. But there's also an A in strategic, so that's...
Oh, that's true.
So,
got it.
Okay. All right. Oh, it's not? Okay, so anyway, the SADL committee is the design review committee for all the construction projects that will go through the National Western Center and everything that's being built. So the committee is comprised of subject matter experts with a wide range of planning and design expertise. We advise NUCO and the National Western Center Authority on design-related matters prior to and concurrent with the mandatory city design review. So I'll go through the steps in this, but this really does work concurrently with all the design review that development services, for the city development services, will have to do when they approve plans. They'll have to make sure that this stage has happened and that comments have been addressed. So the committee is just 5 people. We have the 2 co-chairs. Brad is one of them. Gretchen is the other. And then there's a representative from Community Planning and Development. And then both CSU and National Western Stock Show have given recommendations of names to put on the committee. And with those names, we've selected 2 folks to add to that. So the 3 representatives, the CPD representative is Jason Whitlock. And then for CSU, it's Mike Rush, who's the campus architect for CSU. And for WSSA, it's Dan Crane, who's a local architect, and on a few of these other committees through town. So we've got a really good group to go through and review all these documents. So it's a 3-step process. The first one is design, vision, and initial site plan. This one is really just to make sure that, one, they understand what the campus is all about, that they understand where their building is, where the doors are, how the building is serviced, basic items from an initial site plan that they have to deal with, just to make sure that they're on that, and then to understand their design objective and the assumptions for that facility. The second one, we call it the pre-city submittal. It's pre to their final. They will submit their roughly 30% design to the city prior to this submittal, and then this comes to the SADL committee for their full review of that document. But that then is plans, elevations, materials, all the pieces that make up all the buildings themselves. And then the final piece is a final submittal of all the final approved components of the document. And we're talking right now about how we document that piece so that it's kind of set in stone, so that it can be looked up later and see how we've worked on through all those pieces. So here's the process. So we have the design vision. The blue on the top is the city process for permitting and approvals, and then the boxes below are the SADL. So design vision is the first thing that happens. Pre-city submittal comes after the concept phase submittal, and then the last one is with the final site development plan approval at the same time as that. So these are the projects that SADL will look at. It's basically everything that's being built on the campus. I think the only thing right now that is a little different is because the maintenance and operations facility is already under design. The guidelines haven't been completed. They will not go through this process. We have an informal process for that building, but everything else will follow the SADL process. And also, we hope this process is used for the triangle and future projects also. So that is all I have. Any questions on SADL?
Can you back up to the last slide?
I can.
I don't see any hands, I'm good.
I saw one.
The flexible use situation, how does that, and there's this conversation about zoning issues too in the mix. So I just want to get really clear in order to be able to follow this, how having a list of the specific areas there can be part of discussing that dynamic.
Well, and I think what's good about this is that, yes, these are all separate projects, but this committee looks at it as a whole, all right? And so they have to also think about those flexibility issues that you're talking about. And, they will have seen all these projects as they go through and be able to comment.
It's every single building on the campus, and the only one it's not is really the operations building, which is kind of designed, because it's an existing structure, and it's the first thing out of the chute. Shoot. Get it? Sorry. Yeah, dude, give me some.
I got you some. There's some love here.
So, but it's every building, everything, and the triangle, and the reason I personally was a major fan of this process, it will also live on. This will be the design quality keeper of the flame for the National Western Center for ideally 100 years. And things like after it gets built out and folks are bringing in new signage suggestions, it'll be all part of that. And in addition, the review that has the real teeth to it, that's tied to the building permit, is the design standards and guidelines and all that, which is looked at by the city.
So the overall dynamic and the interrelatedness of the aesthetics of the buildings and how the whole project and campus flows becomes part of this awareness?
Yes.
Or part of this, okay. And are those open meetings, public meetings?
No, they will not be. We're not going to have them public. Good.
Now, I don't know if this is the correct time to bring this up, this design. We need your horsepower, Gretchen's, and Brad's. We have a bad problem on the west side of the river that's contaminating the east side of the river. We had a fire the other day that spewed a lot of toxins in the air, 60 firefighters, a lot of water that got shoved into the river that's contaminating all this. And we need to work on that too as we're doing this design. And I don't know if this is the right time to bring it up, but it needs to be brought up. Albus needs to, we've got to get after this. We can't have these recyclers ruining this project.
Thank you.
I guess I'm curious if there, I understand and I appreciate the fact that there is this sort of double check on design, but I'm curious if there's anywhere along the line in the process that it's possible to at least post, images or renderings of the design so the public can give the committee some sort of feedback. I mean, I understand that you don't want to make those meetings public, and I understand why, because you need to have a healthy discussion about design. But I think it would really be valuable to Saddle to have any feedback from the public. So is there a way that we could maybe integrate into the process something like that?
I think we should talk about it. I think it's a good suggestion.
Well, and I think the other thing is that all the designs that are being done will come in. We're trying to bring all these projects in front of you so you can see how they're going. And so it makes sense that roughly that site development, the initial site development plan, that those design teams come in and do a presentation to you about what.
Oh yeah, everything that's on that list you're going to see. I'm thinking actually more about the triangle and stuff like that that aren't these city-sponsored projects.
This is going to be around forever and ever.
Yeah.
It's like, a way to ensure that as, time goes forward, that the community is still engaged.
So something to keep in mind is that the first meeting, the concept meeting, there's really not drawings. I mean, at that point, it's like, hey, important safety tip, think about this, oh, you might not know that this project is going to be over here next, and those kinds of things. The second meeting is when there'll actually be drawings submitted. It is also roughly at the same time that they're making their submittal to the city, which is posted. Those are all posted and, by address. You can click on them and see them. So there's that. But I hear you, and we need to ensure that, because that isn't the idea here is not to keep this from the public, but it is to have a very robust and hold a very high bar to what could be down the road, private sector developers or partners down the road, future partners from the private sector in the P3, to make sure we're getting world-class design at every step of the way. I mean, there'll be times where there'll be tough conversations happening there.
John?
Yes, several areas of concern, but I know that we have time, like the bridges, a couple of years at least. And lighting, I have a specific interest in lighting. Concerns I share with you, and the only way we'll deal with the saddle is, damn it, jump on it.
Well done.
We're going to jump on that saddle and get things done.
Wow.
Lighting.
He's been wanting to use that for the last...
Since we started.
Nobody said giddy up.
We have a lifetime opportunity here. And it comes to mind the zoo lights. We can have extraordinary lighting that people miles around can see. It identifies with the National Western effort. The old Armor water tower. We can light that baby up like they were doing beef again over there.
Like Tannerite in the Arizona desert.
But there's a lot of concern about lighting, and we can capitalize on that. And the signage, there's a great opportunity there. Opportunities galore here, but I think that as part of the previous presentation, the community benefits effort, windows of opportunity all over. So we got some time, and we'll get it done. Thank you.
Anyone else?
No one responded to my main man, Dave Oleski, down there. And so I think that's an important topic. We were just kind of talking about that right now. I just actually sent a note over to Eric Tate, the fire chief, about all the issues over there. So willing to sit down with a couple of you guys who want to talk deeper, and with inspections, fire chief, they're deeply concerned about it as well.
Okay, AE, and after that we'll giddy up.
So I just want everybody here to know that I requested the document from Eric's team, which he provided, for the Valdez Prairie Library. So it'll be in the resource backed by the bound master plan. And so I really encourage people to get folks in from the neighborhood, sit down. They're preparing a Spanish version executive summary that...
We're talking it through to see if we can do a Spanish version of the first chapter, which is the
Okay,
introduction.
good.
There is no executive summary.
Yeah, I was just asking for something, but if you can do the first chapter or something.
We're checking into it.
The library staff is bilingual, and if somebody wanted to contact you directly from the neighborhood with some input or something like that, we can do it through us, but I love it for people to feel like, I can talk to the big dudes too.
That's fine.
Is the contact stuff in here?
It is not, but it will be on the website. We posted this on the city website already.
Okay,
and
good.
The contacts are myself and Brett Johnson.
And one quick suggestion I want to make for communication to broaden conversation and comfort, talking to people constituents that have not been engaged. If we present this as a creative process that is being implemented as opposed to a policy process it really brings out in people something that is energizing, that have maybe been discouraged by so many public meetings, putting up dots, this and that and the other thing. But anyway, it's a creative process that's being implemented. People get that because it has to do with how it feels to make even their front yard beautiful. How do we make the National Western Center functional like their home? And it's got all this, so please help people feel that.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Very good meeting. You're welcome. Thank you, everyone. It's good to see you. Okay, there you go.
Before you guys go, I just want to let you know that
Thanks, Eric. Wait for the microphone. Thank you, Mark.
before everybody takes off, I just want to let you know that on December 8th, History Colorado is opening a new exhibit called Written on the Land. It's about the Ute Indians, and we're having an opening on the 8th, and I have free tickets for you guys. It's going to be a great day. We're going to have Indian dancers and everything for all 3 Ute tribes and everything, and we'd love for you guys to come out. So instead of passing around so you have to wait them, I'm going to lay them right here, and you can come by and get them on your way out. How's that? Thanks.
Oh.
Liliana.
Oh, here, hand the microphone down.
Oh, I can talk about it today.
Sorry, I didn't want to give it my microphone.
No, that's right. I think in one of the updates, folks have been collecting gifts for a holiday gift drive. In addition to that, the Grow House is also hosting a holiday event open to anyone in the community. It's December 15th. We'll send around information about that as well.
And I think we have one more announcement from our friend Dave Aletsky, who's going to tell us about what's happening at Focus Points, maybe. What are you going to be doing at Focus Points next week, Dave Aletsky?
On December 6th, we're going to be hosting a little Christmas party for the kids at Swansea Rec Center. And there's some little gifts there that we've got some stockings that we're going to be giving to the kids, and somehow I'm playing Santa Claus.
Okay, and with that, you're all free to go home. I will see you all next month.
December 13th. Please remember, our next meeting is December 13th, so not too far away. Thanks.
Liz, I might not be here.